Colette.
Hello, Lilou.
Oh, who are you with today?
This is Beanie. Beanie is my little Pomeranian spirit guide. my I love animals, so she likes to sit on my lap whenever I'm doing something, and so I decided to introduce her to the audience today.
Adorable, adorable. Let me just tell everybody that doesn't know you maybe that you are a house author. You travel around the world. You're a famous, actually, psychic, medium, intuitive counselor, and this is your pet. So thank you so much for talking a little bit more about intuition and how we can tap into intuition. And actually, I want to first hear how you discovered this gift. How did this gift awaken in you, or how did you find out about it? Because you kind of have a special story, a little bit different than most psychic.
I think that I like language. I think about language a lot, and I feel that this is an aptitude rather than a spiritual gift. I want to make sure that we delineate that, because I think that we have an expectation that there is some spirituality attached to this, but really my spirituality is a separate discussion. It's that we can't assume anything. I think this is a human aptitude that all of us have to varying degrees. Like some of us, all of us can run. Only some of us run in the Olympics, right? So I can teach people how to run. I can teach people how to run fast. I can teach people how to run a course and see what they see on it, but I can't make someone become, do you understand this? To have the aptitude. So I want to, I've thought a lot about the language lately that applies to this in this profession, and say, this is a spiritual gift. And I just believe that all human beings by divine right are spiritual, and that we are spiritual beings have a human experience, and that we get a little, I think where we get a little gray is in the language. But anyway, I digress. So how did I find it? So I think if we were to go back in time rather than, hindsight's always 20/20. The first experience I had with what's called retrocognition, which is how I actually start my readings, which is knowing the past. Knowing the past about someone without prior intellectual knowledge or information, right? I used to dream a lot between the ages of 3 and 5 about a very specific scene. I would see gray snow, what I thought was snow. I would hear, noises that were very loud. I would see body parts. Now, I'd never seen television, so I'd never seen this, right? I just knew I saw disembodied parts, and then I would always go to the same exact scene. I would see a very, very thin skeletal man crying at a table with teeth, a little pile of teeth, and then a little pile of metal, like gold, or it was definitely gold. And then same man or someone like this man, I would see being pushed into a burning oven or a hole with flames. So I just want to, so this is a nightmare. I would go to my mother. I would say, "Oh my God, this is happening, Mommy," and it was the only dream that she seized up whenever I would tell her it. Right? And I never forget this, because children know. We sense whether the adult is with us or not. Right? That's hence abandonment issues, etc. Especially in the formative years, the developmental formative years between 0 and 6. So 20 years later, we were going through a difficult family situation, and in conversation with my mother, she brought up the dreams and why she was afraid. And my grandfather, who was from Paris, was killed in Dachau in a concentration camp. My mom raised us as Christians, by the way, and we found out we were Jews in my 20s. So, wow. So the retrocognition is knowing the past. When you say claircognizance, which is just knowing something about someone, started developing in me as I grew older, but it wasn't pleasant. I mean, I have to say, it sounds, when you hear the story and you hear the development of the aptitude, you recognize that there is a fallout from that. So, of course, my reaction to it was, because there's no place in society that gives us credibility for this. If anything, in the past, few hundred years, reason is our God, right? And you know. So and this defies logic and reason and analytical reasoning. So why is this possible? Well, it is because I believe consciousness is shared at a level outside the body. So, but that's where I am today. But, I became bulimic when I was 14 and started having a drinking problem by the time I was 15. Now, so by the time I was 17, I had, just wanted to escape myself so much. And I was gang raped when I was 19. So that is when it really kicked in. So I'm just, fast forwarding it because it's a show you're doing. So for me, violence was what, me violating myself, the bulimia, and then being violated was very much a part of what I call now the knife that sharpened my senses. I'd love to say that I, became spiritually sound right after that, but that's not the case. But when I was 27, I got clean and sober. And once I was 2 years into recovery and working, and that's when my spirituality kicked in and my immorality and all the things. That's when the gift, now I call it a gift because then I put the two together. It started to become obvious to me that there was something that I could help other people with. But I have to just quickly tell you a fast story, which is really a good one, because when I started doing aromatherapy massage, I was always looking to become a singer, songwriter. And so my day job were various things. And when I started touching people, one time I touched a woman's back and I immediately heard the name of her stepfather and all the things that had happened. And she was holding tension at the small of her back because of molestation when she was 8, etc. So I just blurted that out to her. And that's how my career as an intuitive was born, because people then started telling their friends. Nobody wanted a massage. And while I kept saying, I don't really do this, I'm a singer.
Oh, yeah.
In spite of it, it just blossomed into something that is now a viable career, and it is my calling.
It's like the gift kept on coming back.
Yeah, and I think because when I look back on it, and I think possibly because I didn't put any attention on it, I think that's why it was able to grow out of the corner of my eye, because I was doggedly pursuing a career in the arts, and this thing was just just kept happening. And people, it was really just the amount of people that kept coming, and then it became literally. I've been doing this full time for 22 years now. And in the interim, though, I feel that one of my greatest and most important desires right now is to change the stereotype of the typical psychic medium that people have a tendency to believe has a lot of woo-woo to it. Although I say don't poo-poo the woo-woo. But we're educated now. The really good psychic mediums. We put our time and effort into educating ourselves. I've studied psychology, various healing mechanisms. I have really put the work in order for me to serve the people better. So I think that we're a new breed coming out now. We really are.
Yeah. And are you feeling that you're more and more in tune now with the energies and the everything accelerating, or?
What do you mean by that?
Are you more and more in tune these days because of everything? It feels like everything is accelerating, and the energies the frequency is raising, and I'm wondering, is that impacting your intuitive abilities too?
Well, yes, and it's making me a little crazier.
Is it?
Oh my God, yeah, I feel if I'm not grounded, I have to meditate twice a day now. I have to do my grounding exercises. I have to swim. I'm finding it overwhelming at times, so I definitely feel the acceleration, and it's my job to maintain as much decorum and peace, inner peace, so that I can serve others better. But I have to say, it's twice as hard for me these days to stay grounded. I get very emotional about, things about the oil spill. I'm very much about I believe that spirit exists in nature and that we've lost touch with that. And so the more I become in touch with the natural world, the more I feel the suffering. So I would say it has accelerated my ability, but it has also caused me to react to it. And my whole work is about teaching people how to respond rather than react. So I'm being challenged in a big way right now.
But that's beautiful, though. How are you dealing with your own doubts and fears then? Do you ever doubt this connection, at least at some times, or recently more than other times?
Well, actually, I had my very first reading the other night that I couldn't read somebody so for years. But
Wow.
no, I think that honesty is really key and important because I think you have to identify with everyone. I think it would be an inaccurate statement to say that I don't have some fears or doubts right now, but it has doubled my again my spiritual practice, which is a separate thing from my aptitude, right? And so it is causing me to act in faith anyway. So, but we're all in this odd nightmare together right now. I think we're all in this, the caterpillar nightmare before it becomes a butterfly. It's the process of transformation that the human race is undergoing at the moment. And so, intuitives we're really feeling it. We really are. But, we're one of everyone, right? That's the point. We're all unified, and the unified consciousness is becoming that much more apparent to all of us.
And I guess it's hitting your way first too, as conscious, open, spirited person that are connected. You're kind of hitting it so that you figure some stuff out that then you can teach us.
Well, you want to know what? That's so true because I teach what I know. I never teach anything that I have not experienced myself. That's the one thing about, I can't teach anything that I don't know or that I haven't experienced firsthand or overcome firsthand. But I think what's been really sad for me, though, is to see the amount of fear that's out there too. And when we are all in this together, and we all have to trust that this is part of the transformation process, where we have to really look at our shadow. And my work, my new book's coming out in January, and it's called The Enchanted Map of You. And I talk about, going into the shadowlands and facing your goblins and really having to love yourself and love the part of you that is afraid, and instead of beating it up and which a lot of us do. And so, I've always considered myself more of a shadow worker than a light worker, in that I want to illuminate the shadow because of my own experiences and the things that I've overcome in my life. Yeah. And so I teach that. And now, I'm going through a fast track course.
What's really interesting about your profile, if I can put it down to
Sure.
narrow it with that word, is that you were raped and yet you didn't react as most people. I mean, it doesn't seem like it took your power away, but you actually in that moment, from I understood, like kind of dissociate yourself and were the observer, and you were able to tap into some other energies, whereas there's a lot of people that numb themselves completely from life. And there's the example of Oprah Winfrey too, eating her way out, maybe possibly because of that. I mean, there's different ways different people reacting in different ways. You would open up your whole psychic ability, apparently.
No, I think, yes and no. So I want to clarify something that's really important.
Yeah.
My psychic abilities came as a result of violence. However, until I was 27 years old, I absolutely played the victim. I wanted to kill myself. I tried to kill myself twice. I ended up with a very severe eating disorder after the fact. I was 219 pounds. So like Oprah, I ate my way through. So I've had every addiction under the sun that I have recovered from. So today I'm 25 years clean and sober. And having worked through all those things, today I stand in my power. But I had to go through those dark rage places where until I could surrender that and then come out the other side, it took a lot of work. It wasn't instant. When you are violated, you don't just go, oh, wow, I'm now psychic. That's not what happened. No. But you are right, though, that I have overcome those things. I have a great marriage today. I mean, I have an incredible life, but it took work. And so my work is about, not just when I do a reading for somebody or when I have my seminars, I teach people how to get to where I got to, which is to surrender and then find your way out of the tunnel. And so, I think truthfully, I did react, and I reacted in a very self-destructive way.
So if Oprah would come to you and ask you, how could she find out where do you think the problem comes from? Or because I guess you can tune to anybody's energy if you wanted to right now.
Well, I don't know that Oprah would ever come to me. So
let's say she comes to you and say, can you help me with my eating disorder, and I feel it's related to being raped, and you would be a great person for her to work with her on that.
Well, that would be a very interesting experience since I absolutely identify with her, and I think she's done. I would love to talk to her one day, but I would say this to anyone, not just because I don't know Oprah, well, but I know that the relationship between eating disorders and sexual abuse is very, very clear, and the way that I'm doing a seminar called Weight Loss for People Who Feel Too Much. Come in January.
Interesting for people that feel too much, huh?
Because clairsentience is a particular intuitive ability that the people who feel other people's feelings are clairsentient. They feel. So the feelers are the ones that tendency. I've read now, tens of thousands of people, and I've seen this consistently because I read over the phone. I can't see the people, but I can tell them right away what time of day they start overeating, when they do it, why they do it, and the emotion that's attached to it. So there really is for certain kinds of people, the idea that food is a drug rather that is a way for someone to ground themselves. It's medicine. It is medicine, but it's the wrong kind because then you develop all kinds of allergies, etc. But it really is trying to fill a spirit-shaped hole. It's like we're searching for God in all forms, or the goddess, or faith, trust, self being, like being in our skin, and we use food to ground ourselves. And I have suffered through it and come out the other side, and I still have to watch it. So if I were to say that to Oprah,
Oprah is watching this right now. What would you say to her?
I love you, Oprah.
That's one. Okay, now we're okay. What's the second message?
I would say that like myself and many others and countless women, specifically women that I've read, and some men, that the eating and the weight gain comes as a result of trying to fill a spirit-shaped hole with food instead of creating a sacred space, which is actually the seminar that I'm going to be teaching in January, how to create that space so you don't fill it with food.
So it's actually people you're saying with a spiritual gap, or they're not fully into, that might appear spiritual, but actually she might be compensating for something else.
I'm saying that in general to everyone, so it
makes sense. It makes sense. Like there is this hole inside, this emptiness that we're feeling with food, that we're filling in with food.
One of the things I want to say too is that, whether a person is deeply spiritual or not, it does not mean that they are living life in perfection. I really believe that we're all works in progress, and that no matter how, and the more enlightened we get, the more crap we can overcome, or that we illuminate, right? So the idea of illumination or enlightenment means we illuminate the shadow or the darkness. So, I think that people who are in the public eye, for example, or people who are, iconic figures for the rest of society, there's a lot of pressure on them, as well, but also that we heal according to when they heal, and we identify ourselves with those people. So it takes away their humanity in a way too, because they become more than just their own person. So, but I think any addiction comes from a spirit-shaped hole, no matter how deeply spiritual you think you are.
So tell us how we can connect with our intuition, or how can we tap, how can we reawaken and hear our intuitive voice again? So
we're assuming that we have to assume first that we all have it. Okay, so we have to have a few assumptions if we're going to recover the parts of ourselves that we've lost. So keeping a journal is the number one. So try it for 30 days, where you keep a journal of the hunches that you have, and without any judgment, and not being afraid to be right or wrong, not any judgment whatsoever. You follow that particular hunch until you start to recognize where in your body, because you can see it physically, where are you getting the information? Where does it resonate? So a really great way to test if your intuition is off or on is by a very simple yes-no exercise. One is telling a lie, the other one is telling the truth. And you can tell what your body feels like when you lie, and you tell what your body feels like when you tell the truth. Two very different in the person, right? So intuition will always feel like the truth. It will never feel like the lie feels. And each person will feel differently. right? So it's the idea that you go, was this true or was this a wishful thought, right? And then you start to recognize as well, too, when does the intellect come in when you say the logic mind? And you can feel that. So there's subtleties in consciousness and in your awareness that once you start to become aware of it, you really can find a lot about yourself and then how it actually works. In my second book, Messages from Spirit, I have a whole list of symbols. There's like 500 symbols that I tell people to pay attention to, and to see that if their attention is drawn by some particular, just everyday thing, what would that mean? And to look it up, because Spirit talks to us, or I say spirit, but it could be consciousness. It's all language, consciousness or the collective, or whatever this message giver will speak to us through symbols. There's always these symbols that come. So it's paying attention to symbols, paying attention to your body. It's really about paying attention, right? So
being in the present moment.
Most of us don't pay attention.
So that's really about that, huh?
Yeah, it really is.
And asking the right question too?
Always asking the right question. So what does this mean is a good question. And it's not, and also, the right question, you mean of yourself, as you're saying, what can we do to increase our intuition? Is what do I need to know is the best question. It's not tell me what this is, yes or no. It's always, what do I need to know? What can I learn today? What will be revealed to me in my life? I've created 2 sets of oracle cards that you can try for free on my website that actually are their intuition tools.
I love it. I saw that. You just select, you have a question and then you just select it. How brilliant.
Yeah, and they're created so that they tap into consciousness. And they work too. They're very accurate. They're very, very accurate. So
I had disruption. That was very scary.
When? Today?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Well, we'll see. It doesn't mean to be scary. Disruption also means that something can shake the foundation. Something really positive can happen with disruption too. So like a surprise visit from someone that you didn't expect, or we're coming into Mercury retrograde. So that's usually when you hear from somebody from the past, or
it was related to a partnership though, the question.
And was it correct?
I don't know yet.
So why don't you ask then again, what else can you learn about this disruption? So you
keep on going on like that. When you work with the
ask
cards,
for information. Yes, my cards are created so you can ask for more information. Yeah.
Very cool. So do you have messages like that? Like right now, can you tune in and there is something for us to know, or for me to know?
Oh, for you to know?
Yeah.
Okay. So
show us on a practical way how you do that and what happens. I know it's a bit of I'm putting it that out there.
No, that's fine.